Cricket Life Stories with me, Neel Khagram. Today we're joined by Michael Yardy. Mike, thank you for your time. How are you keeping during these strange times that we're all living in?
Yeah, it's strange times. I think we're coping just about okay. As I said, it's very difficult for some people, so we're kind of fortunate in that sense. So yeah, you just adapt, don't you? And yeah, and just find different ways of doing stuff.
Yeah, let's take it all the way back with yourself, born in Pembury, Kent. What first attracted you to cricket?
I think I started playing cricket just because my dad used to play, so I used to go along on a Saturday, kind of afternoon, and just kind of hang around the kind of boundary and get in the nets, and yeah, just always from a young age had a kind of bat and ball in my hand, and yeah, I think I probably started playing cricket when I was 6, 7, that kind of age, and to be honest with you, that well, I certainly wasn't a natural. I think it was only when I was kind of 10 where I started to kind of click. I think I think you see some videos now, kids kind of 3 or 4 on the internet, and they're absolutely unbelievable. But for me, I was very, very uncoordinated, and it kind of took me a few years to kind of get the game really. So
Any childhood heroes that you're trying to aspire to?
I wouldn't. I don't know if I never ever kind of aspired to them, but I mean, I think I love watching Brian Lara bat, and I suppose the three he would be kind of one player I've just watched and yeah, just love kind of his bat lift and everything about the way he played the game was so exciting. And yeah, I suppose when you're with a tennis ball and a bat, you're trying to kind of replicate, but getting nowhere near it. And then from an English point of view, even though as a right-hander, but Graham Gooch was a big hero of mine. I remember watching him in those kind of 89 and 93 Ashes against Australia, and England seemed to be kind of really struggling and struggling to score runs. And especially in '93, I just remember watching Graham Gooch. He always seemed to come out and take the attack to the Aussies. So and watching him score his 3-3-3 against India and watching that on TV. So he was a big one. And then as a left-hander, kind of a little bit later, was Graham Thorpe. Someone I think he's a classy left-hander, and was one of England greats, and played through some difficult era. I think in those days, the West Indies were very strong. Australia obviously very strong. There's some very, very, Pakistan, Waqar Younis, Wasim Akram. So there's some very, very strong bowling attacks, and he always seemed to, stand up and have a lot of the answers. So he was someone I definitely admired.
And then your club side growing up, what were they called?
So I played firstly at Battle, which was kind of just outside Hastings, actually very close to the kind of where the Battle of Hastings took place. So that was yes, I played there. It was interesting because the village ground weren't allowed to hit sixes because it was so small. So even if you hit it over the boundary, you can only get four. And then when I started to enjoyed my time there, it was great to kind of be able to play kind of Saturday, Sunday, and then have that kind of experience of playing men's cricket, which I think was big for me. And as a youngster, I think I was playing men's cricket when I was kind of 9, 10, and that was not necessarily at the highest level, but I think playing with and against men was massive for me in terms of my development, in terms of being in a dressing room and kind of understanding how kind of the banter works. And I think that was really important for me. And then I moved to Hastings, and that was a really successful club team at the time in the Sussex League, and did well in national championships as well. And I think again that taught me about kind of being part of a team and a club, and all the kind of traditions, and and learning how to play as a team. That was huge for me as a kind of 15-year-old. I think kind of actually all the kind of things that are really important, kind of looking after your teammates and things like that. So that was really, really, both clubs gave me really good groundings of kind of going on to have a professional career.
Now, when did Sussex recognise your talent? Did you come through the academy? So I know that you played actually second 11 cricket whilst you're at school. Am I correct in saying? But did you actually come
Yeah.
through the academy, or?
Yeah, I mean, the academy was just starting when I came through. So I played for Sussex since kind of under 10s all the way through. And the second team game I played, I think, was 15. So I played a few games at 15, a few games at 16, and played quite a lot 17 and 19s. I played kind of a lot of Sussex under 17s. I didn't play very little under 19 cricket because I think when I got to kind of 17, I was playing second team cricket, so I missed out on under 19 cricket, which I think it's an interesting one because I think now we don't seem to see teams play, not too many counties of under-19 teams. So I think a lot of players who potentially were slightly different to me in terms of that maybe a little bit later in kind of developing might get lost. They might not be ready for second team cricket, but actually that under-19 and playing 2 and 3 day cricket, then I think that's quite important. So kind of the academy system probably came in just a couple of years after I kind of have been a professional.
Then you made your debut in a NatWest one-day game in 1999, I believe against Hertfordshire. Did you know at that age that you wanted to be a professional cricketer? So obviously you were a young man still at that age.
Yeah, that was for the Sussex Cricket Board. I think because that's I will see it as my first ever list day game for Sussex, but it was a cricket board game, so it was a League 11 game. My first, I think, actual game was the same year against Sri Lanka A. I think so. I remember going on a tour to the West Indies, to Barbados, with the kind of Sussex. I suppose it would have been an academy team because it was lads from 50. I think I was 15, 16 at the time, and then lads who were 20. So it was kind of it was a type of academy tour, and I think at that point I did quite well on that tour, and at that point I kind of recognised that I had a good chance of being a professional. But I think that's all you think about. You think about, well, for me it was about I just want to be a professional and then kind of go from there. So yeah, I think from about probably 16, 17 I realised I had a good chance.
And would it be fair to say the start of your career, you didn't quite nail down a spot in the first team. You're kind of in and out the side. I know, say 2002, you made 10 appearances. The following 2 seasons, I think it was 7 combined games during that period. Was your breakthrough that 100 against Surrey in 2004?
Yeah, 100%. I think I've been lucky that I had a year 2001 where I played, I think, missed one championship game and did reasonably well, but again didn't kind of get that big 100. And then, as you said, in and out through injury in 2002, and then went out of the team in 2003, 2004. Played a few games, and it was literally. I had a good season in the second team that year and a good one-day season. And I remember it was last game of the season, and I kind of switched off, I must admit. And then I got a call from, I think it must have been 17 coach at the time, Mark Robinson, saying you need to get to Hove now because Ian Ward, who was opening at the time, is injured, so you're playing. So I kind of had a few days of kind of relaxing and thinking about the winter, and then all of a sudden I was playing, and and I remember it very well. I think we bowled first and then bowled them out, and I remember being 69 not out overnight, and just knowing this was my big opportunity to score 100. And I remember not sleeping and thinking, oh, and I think I was in the 95 to 100 took me kind of 8 to 10 overs. So it was it was a relief more than anything, but a great way to kind of go into the winter and gave me a real confidence that that I had improved and I could do very well at the level, I think. So
Yeah, you talk about confidence. The following season, you replicated that 100 again against Surrey. You followed up the touring Bangladesh side that were touring over the UK. You made a double 100 in that game, a real statement in terms of your kind of pedigree, and just to say, this is where you belong now.
Yeah, I think that period, I think that was probably my most successful period as a player. I remember that start of the season. I felt, I think I knew that I was, because I had a lot of games before, even though I was 24, I had a lot of games I played, and I kind of realised that I was up to the level, and I just had a golden period that time, and I think it was 700 runs in the first 5 first-class games, and I just felt so confident about what I was doing and very clear on my game plans and how I was going to go about it and my preparation, and it was a real golden period, and probably. Yeah, it was a bit. I think for people, everyone else, it was a bit. Oh, how's this guy come along? But for me, I had a real belief in what I was doing, and like I say, my preparation, everything, and it worked really well. But yeah, I think I was lucky in a strange sort of way that I had kind of a lot of bumps along the way, and that I was in and out of the team. I think right at the start of my career, I really struggled in first class cricket, and Sussex stuck with me. And there's probably a couple of times where could have been released. I suppose if they might have said, actually, we've given him an opportunity, he hasn't quite kind of taken it. Maybe he's not quite ready. And and Peter Moore showed a lot of faith in me, and and then it kind of, and it all clicked. So yes, it was nice to be backed, and also to have the belief in game to do it. So
And then talking about that Bangladesh game, you also got a fifer with your left arm spin. You were actually a medium pace bowler to start with. Am I correct in saying? How did the kind of development come with your spin bowling?
I mean, I've played a few kind of one day quarterfinals for Sussex and bowled okay bowling seam, but I always felt that I was always going to get whacked at some point. I remember playing a second team game and I got hit for 38 in the second team game, second team over, and it was like, right, this is not working. So over the winter of 2004 2005, I kind of started bowling spin, and when I first started bowling, I think that during that 2005 season, I bowled with kind of nice shape and spun the ball, and it was still part time, but I think it was some really good signs. And then the more one day cricket I played, the more I got flatter and quicker, and kind of developed a style more for one day cricket. And probably it had a detriment on potentially bowling more overs in 4 day cricket. But yeah, it was that was the kind of transition I made. I think because I just felt that I always felt I had something with the ball, but it never quite clicked as a medium pace bowler. So I tried spin, and it came reasonably, not to naturally. I had to work very hard at it, but it wasn't something that was completely alien to me.
And then you got international recognition. 2005, you got picked for the A tour that toured West
Mm.
Indies. Who else was on the tour at the time with you? And how was
Yes,
that as an experience? And you talked about confidence. It must have given you a lot of belief that England were now looking at you.
yeah, it's an interesting. I mean, the players on the tour were just strong. We started off with Alistair Cook was actually on that tour, and then played the first warm up game, and then got called up to go to India, and then made a Test debut. As did O.S. Shah. I think Vikram Solanki was the captain. Gareth Batty. I'm probably going to miss a few. Stephen Davies, Stuart Broad.
Strong
There's a
team.
number. It was
Yeah.
a very strong. Ed Joyce. There was a number of fine players on it, and it was a yeah, it was a it was a really good to be part of that. But I think there was something I didn't quite believe I was as good as the rest of the batsmen in a way, and that was kind of frustrating. To even though my numbers stacked up and I had a very good county season, there was part of me that kind of like I looked around and we'd train at Loughborough and there'd be Alistair Cook and there'll be Shah, Ed Joyce, and I look back now, I think, oh, I wish I hadn't thought like that. But at the time, I probably felt that I wasn't quite of that level of player. Maybe I wasn't, but I think, if I advise anyone now, I wouldn't. Don't worry too much about what other, how good other players are. Just keep focusing on what you can do well and why you're there. So that was a bit of a lesson, but it was great to get the recognition. I probably didn't have as good a tour as I'd liked. But came good in the one days, and I think that kind of set the tone really in terms of getting some England selection. I probably didn't score as many runs in 2 4 day games, but but bowled and batted reasonably well in the one days.
Yeah, so you said the following summer, 2006, you get your T20 international and ODI debut against Pakistan. You talked about a little bit. You didn't feel as if you were good enough on the A tour in terms of the players that were as part of the party. What was the mindset when you got your call up and actually then started performing? You did reasonably well to begin with.
Yeah, no, look, I was happy. I think my first few games for England went really well. I think a good day. I think I was coming off. I was playing very well in county cricket, and I was just coming off a final with Sussex, and I remember going down for a T20, and and it all kind of clicked, and I had a good debut, and then
Yeah, I think you
yeah, I think
smashed 24 off 14 balls.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, and I remember just it was nice. It was kind of it was all a bit fresh and new, and yeah, it was. And then we played a couple of games, and they didn't play two spinners, so I think made my debut at Trent Bridge and took 3 wickets and bowled really well. And I look back now, and a few drop catches. I could have had 5 or 6 that day. It was just one of those days. And then we played at Edgbaston, and scored the winning runs, and we did a little bit of a collapse and kind of saw us through with, I think, even just 15 not out. So I think I went away and thought, okay, well, I was never one to think, well, I belong, but I certainly felt that I could, perform at the level. So yeah, I went away very encouraged, and looking forward to kind of more opportunity, I suppose.
Yeah, so the next opportunity came in the Champions Trophy. England as a team didn't perform that well, then was it a disappointment that you were then subsequently left out after that tournament? The company that
I
was
think,
touring Australia?
yeah, of course, it was disappointing. I think I got given a new role, and I look again. I look back now, and not with any kind of regret, but I remember kind of Andrew Flintoff coming to me and saying, "You want you to kind of play and bat at 4 for the first few games between himself and Kevin Peterson." And I think I look back now, and I think I was a bit kind of, I probably didn't realise, not necessarily it was a big opportunity, but probably again didn't quite focus on what I could do well. Probably looked around and thought, oh, there's a lot of good players here. Why they've chosen me, instead of actually thinking, oh look, this is this opportunity. This is what I do well, and kind of embrace it. And it it was a few games, and I suppose it didn't quite happen as I'd like it. But yeah, I think, and that's what you try and do now as a coach, is not tell people about your own experiences, but when people maybe don't recognise situations or recognise their strengths, that's your kind of job. So I think, yeah, I think if in hindsight, I wish I'd have looked at it as an opportunity to take rather than why in that sense.
A bit of period out of the England team. You got made the skipper of Sussex in 2009. You said you come through the ranks. Was that a proud moment for you?
Oh, hugely, yeah. I think it was. It was an interesting time for Sussex because, Chris Adams had been captain. He had left to go to Surrey as a coach. Mushtaq Ahmed, missed a lot of the 2008 season, and actually we ended up, I think, in the 2008 season before I took over, only stayed up by a point. And then we had it felt like a very fresh new squad. We'd signed a few players. Joyce had joined, but I remember in pre-season it was a real interesting one because you looked around as a new captain. It felt all of a sudden we'd lost a lot of experience, but there was a kind of fresh and an excitement and youthful kind of exuberance around the squad. And we just, I'd say, we did a lot of preparation for white ball cricket. So we went to Dubai and we didn't take any red balls. We took white balls. And subsequently had an excellent white ball season. Won the T20. Won the Pro 40 and got to the final of the Friends Provident. But also went down in the Championship. And I remember the end of that year, I think a few members were a little bit disgruntled that we've gone down, and it was because Sussex had won 3 championships, and you look back at it and go, well, with the season before we stayed up by a point, and and this year we went down. So I think, but I think my message to them was that I don't think there's nothing on the board, trophy board saying about relegation. It's all about winning trophies. So I think in 20 years time, when the Sussex look back and they go, well, we won the T20 in 2009, we won the Pro 40. I think you have to look at trophies that you've won rather than worrying about relegation. And actually subsequently we went up the year after quite comfortably. So it was a real, and those the couple of years 2009 2010 were really exciting years as a captain and being involved with Sussex. It was and it was it was a good time. 2009 would arguably be my favourite season, really.
As you said, you won the white ball double. You get back into the England side yourself personally in time for that T20 World Cup. Talk us through that whole journey, that tournament, and then eventually winning it. Obviously, a lot's been written and said about the 2019 50 over home success that took place last year, but you were part of the team that won England's first ICC limited overs trophy.
Yeah, I mean, I think time is everything, isn't it? And I think it worked quite well. I was playing well for Sussex. We'd actually qualified for the Champions League, so we got the opportunity to play a few games in India in the Champions League, which doesn't happen now, which is unfortunate because I think it was a really good kind of concept. And yeah, I kind of got called up for England out of the blue. It was that 3 weeks will, in my cricketing career will rank as high as anything because it was a great. I was really enjoying my cricket. We were playing, a great bunch of guys. In the West Indies, we had a real sense of we could do very well. I felt that from the start of the tournament. There was a real element of confidence in the group in terms of looking around and going, well, actually, we've got players who can play certain roles, and it felt like they put a squad together that they'd worked out kind of what they wanted in their team, and then found the players to kind of fit that. So yeah, for example, Michael Lum and Craig Keysvetter opening the batting. The two guys who could take on the power play, and it seems kind of strange now, but people used to go, it's 10 years ago, and people go about the power play very aggressively now, but it was kind of a little bit different in terms of how hard they went at the power play. And then you had Ryan Sidebottom as a left armer in the team, as did a change of angle, and then we played two spinners in obviously Graham Swan played, but then I played as well. So they kind of looked at what they wanted in a team and found players around it. Where I asked a question the other day, and I suppose the difference is that you look at the team that have just won the 50 over World Cup. It's been a huge build up in terms of from 2015 World Cup. They've got the core of the players together, and they've played cricket together for a long time, been very successful. Where we kind of came together for 3 weeks really, and it really clicked.
And then going into the actual final, from a mental perspective, how did you find the pressure going into a World Cup final?
It's an interesting. I suppose you're nervous, and that's natural, but I don't think it was quite the I think it was only a couple of day turnaround from the semi-final. It was more excitement, to be honest with you, because I think it was all very new for me, because I come back into the England team 3 weeks earlier, and all of a sudden you're playing a World T20 final, and it's of course there's nerves and things like that, but I think there was an air of confidence in the group that if we stuck to what we did well and how we played through the tournament, then we thought we'd have a really good chance of beating Australia. So there was like that kind of, so the confidence didn't come from anything other than we knew we'd done well, and if everyone did their role well, then we'd have a great chance of winning it.
And then the following year, 2011, the 50 over World Cup, you actually opened the bowling against South Africa. Was that how did that come about? Was it discussions? What was the thinking behind that? It wasn't really common at that time.
No, I think we'd spoken about it a little bit in tournament, and it was an option, especially on that pitch. It wasn't a great pitch. It spun from ball one really. So I opened the bowl, and I didn't do it particularly successfully. I think I bowled okay, but I think I'd like to think if I'd have bowled as well as I could have, it'd have been tricky to face on that type of pitch. It was something a bit different. I think that was actually my last game for England, opened the bowling, but that was against South Africa. It was a great win. So,
and then obviously it's just been well documented that you had to leave the party due to depression. Are you able to perhaps share a few things that were going through your mind during that time?
Yeah, I think it was a culmination of a kind of lot of things. I think I got myself in a very bad place, kind of mentally, in terms of my belief in myself, and it was more. I think I'd always related my illness to cricket. So in my mind, I was in a really bad place. I suppose the best way to describe it was the walls were closing in, and I was getting frustrated and angry with myself, and and then I got upset with myself. So I got myself in a really bad place, and the way I kind of saw it was, if I stopped playing for England, then it would go away. And I think that and it wasn't that, and then and then the next step was, if I'm not captain for Sussex, and it will ease and things like that, and then it kind of. So I think it was probably me in a little bit of denial, that I thought if I could just kind of push certain things away in my life, then it would ease up. And actually, it was a very short-term view, and it's something that I certainly. I don't know whether I'd play for England again. I don't know in terms of performance-wise, but I think I was naive to think that if I did certain things, and then my illness would go away. I think it's something that a number of people manage through their lives, and it's not some people it comes and goes. For other people, it's something you manage, and you try to manage the best you can.
Was there a support structure in place for you to talk to anyone, whether that be with England or back home in Sussex?
Yeah, no, I'd been looked after, well in that sense. I think I can't have any complaints that the ECB and Sussex were very supportive of me, and and put specialist people to help me. Obviously psychologists and psychiatrists to kind of diagnose my illness, and I think that was so I was lucky, but that some people don't have that. Don't have that straight away, and I was lucky that things were put in place so I could just understand what was going on more, because I think sometimes when you do have mental illness, you sometimes question what is going on. Some days you wake up and go, is there anything wrong? And then some days it's horrific. So so I was lucky to have an understanding of that. So and it's something that I've kind of taken on to study myself. So when I finished playing cricket, so it's it's good. I think it's very important to understand what's going on rather than just get kind of the medication or a solution.
And then 2013, you relinquished the captaincy in the 4-day format and the 40-50 over format as well. But you do lead Sussex to finals day. How are you feeling about your cricket during that time?
I think it's another like I said to you about the England stuff. I think I probably thought if I gave up the captaincy, then everything would ease in my head and things like that. And it didn't work like that, and I don't think it ever does work like that. So I probably wasn't in the greatest space, probably battling, and I thought it was best at that time to give up the captaincy. And do you know what? Maybe it was the right call for the club, and and maybe for me at the time. But long term, I'm not sure. For me, it wasn't a decision. Potentially, it was made rationally. It's kind of a bit of emotional kind of decision. And actually, now I'm going to stop and going to. It's not one that I regret, but I think I'd rather had a bit of a longer period to kind of to think about it rather than being too hasty, which I probably was.
And then 2015 retirement came. Talk us through that period. What were you thinking? Was it a playing decision? Did you feel that you had more to? You just didn't have any more to give?
I still probably felt that I had the skill to play, and I think I probably proved that right at the end because I scored a lot of runs at the end of it. But I think mentally I was probably in a place where I was ready to move on from cricket. I think I played a pre-season game against one of the universities and Leeds and Bradford, and I remember being at the crease and just looking up, just finding it really hard work to concentrate, and just felt like I didn't. Yeah, there wasn't something quite right. And then we went to Hampshire and played a game, and again I wasn't in a great space. And subsequently, I missed the next, I think, 2 championship games or 3 championship games just to try and clear my head. But I think at that point I'd made my decision I was going to retire, and then I think it was after a T20 I just thought I've had enough. And then I look at it and I remember, and then right at the end of the season I came back into the 4-day team and scored a few hundreds and a few 70s, and was playing probably as well as I played for a long time. Probably, but I don't think it. And people say, "Oh, you relaxed." I don't think I relaxed. I just think I went back to what I was doing well before, and that and it was nice, very nice to finish, finish very strongly. And I suppose there's always that thing of like, oh, well, do you wish you'd stayed on a little bit because it was going well? But I didn't look at it like that. I thought it was my time, and I was just happy that it finished so well. In terms, so personally.
And then you went, so Sussex unfortunately got relegated.
Yeah, of course.
Then you go into, as you mentioned previously, you went to academia, you studied psychology. A fulfilling experience?
Yeah, no, look, that's probably eventually going to be the end goal, to be a sports psychologist. I've done my undergrad for 3 years, and now halfway through my masters. I find it fascinating. I think kind of my own experiences and understanding, how the mind works, the theories that you can kind of relate to, my current role as a batting coach, all the theories you can relate, how people think. And I think it's really helped me as a coach. And I really, I find it fascinating. I think it's something that, people say it's kind of not been touched upon. I think it's just an understanding of players, understanding, how, how you think and your emotions you attach to those thoughts, how can influence the performance. So and also how team environments work, and and what type of theories are out there, and how you relate them to your own experiences of when teams have been successful, and what that kind of environment looks like. So it's it's been fascinating, and something that I'm massively interested in.
Then talk us through that transition into coaching back into cricket. Um,
Mm,
First of all, the first stint came back with Sussex as the batting coach.
yeah.
How did that all come about?
Yeah, so I'd finished in 2015. 2016, I got asked to be the head coach of the under-17s, which I took on that role. I must admit, when I finished playing, I didn't have any kind of plans in the sense of coming into coaching. I literally kind of knew I was going to study. I got a job at a school as cricket professional, and did some football at Hurstby Point, a very good school in Sussex. So I was comfortable, and they were very understanding of my kind of my further education, higher education, and very supportive towards that. And I think I enjoyed coaching, but and then it was the winter of probably the winter start January 2017, and approached by Mark Davis, the head coach Sussex, whether I'd want to come back as a batting coach. I think it was something that interested me, and I was keen to do. I was a bit wary because I'd only finished playing, but I think you can't necessarily hold off when the opportunities come up. I took it, and it's been. I found coaching really interesting. I've really enjoyed it. I think working with different types of players and different types of personalities is very rewarding and also very challenging.
You talk about different personnel. You also had a stint with England under-19s, and then more recently with Down Under, New South Wales. How did that again come about?
Yeah, look, I applied for the England 19 batting coach job and was lucky enough to kind of get the role. I feel that I think I kind of relate well to kind of players of 17, 18 to 23. I think because I feel they've got the most growth, and I really enjoyed that role. I think it was a fantastic setup. In terms of the New South Wales, it's about this time last year that they advertised their role for head batting coach. It's something really interesting. I felt that I needed to have an experience of coaching, elsewhere from Sussex, and it was a big move to go, to Sydney, and I planned to be there for at least 2 years, but unfortunately had to leave after a season through kind of family reasons. But I mean, it is certainly kind of fast forward my learning, being able to coach in Australia, for New South Wales, and working with different types of players,
Did you have a
some high
chance to
level
work with
international.
the likes of Stephen Smith, or
Yeah, I mean,
Smith and
Steve
Warner?
Smith and Dave Warner, they played the first 3 Shield games, so kind of being around them and learning about how they go about it, and that was really good. Obviously, these types of guys know exactly what they want and what they're after, so it's definitely a case of just facilitating. And so I had the opportunity to work not just with top international players, but Australian players from a different country, and also New South Wales is it's probably something that I appreciate now, but I maybe didn't appreciate how big it's the biggest domestic organisation in the world by a long way. We'd have 50 players for net sessions.
And then the opportunity to come home and then work as Kent's batting coach for the upcoming season. I'm not sure if we're going to get any cricket this year, but you've
Yeah.
got the role. Something that you're excited about?
Oh, definitely. I think the one thing, I suppose, when you look at clubs, and I think even before I'd taken a role, I was looked at Kent and thought they've got a lot of players who are kind of who are improving. Not like the phrase, but they're kind of their curves are going up, and there's a lot of players who who have been in the England setup, from Joe Denley, Sam Billings, now Zach Crawley, and guys in the lines like Milnes and Robinson. So and even down to the under-19s of Cox and Kadri. So there's a lot of players who are being recognised, and I think it's a testament to the club that it's going in the right direction.
Brilliant, Mike. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you very much for being so open and honest about everything. And fingers crossed we do get some cricket this season. All the best
Great
for
stuff.
future
Cheers.
ahead. So Neel
Thank you.
Khagram, Cricket Last Stories, Michael Yardy. Thank you.